What you're about to watch is a conversation between myself, Caleb Briggs, Rex Briggs, and Rock J. Walker. We're going to be discussing Caleb Briggs' upcoming book, The AI Conundrum, here in the Highline 9 in Walker Fine Art. I'd also like to recommend you to pick up a copy of our book, The Escher Experience. You can pick up one here in the gallery when you come in to see all the wonderful works of MC Escher, or you can buy one on eBay. The link is below. Enjoy. What's your name?
I'm Caleb Briggs.
Caleb, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What's your name?
Rex Briggs.
Nice to meet you, Rex. Okay, tell me, what's this book that you're telling me about?
Yeah, so it's the AI Conundrum, and part of the idea behind it was AI is often taught through mathematics, and mathematics is a great way to describe the world, but it often requires a lot of background to understand. So part of what I wanted to do was try and teach AI in a way that didn't require mathematics, but actually kept a lot of the same type of depth. I think we're here looking at MC Escher, and I think he's a great example of that type of thing. He really understood the concepts and the way that the world works in a really interesting way that I think a lot of people have gone back and made mathematical. But ultimately, Escher wasn't a mathematician. He understood these things. And I think AI is something like that, and that's what I want to pass on to other people, is there's a way to understand AI, and it doesn't require a lot of math. It just requires thinking and understanding. And so I tried to pass on that knowledge that's rigorous and really reflects the ideas in the same way that Escher's paintings often reflect hyperbolic space or other sorts of cool mathematical concepts in a correct way. But for him, they came from a place different than mathematics. And I want to give people that with AI. So for instance, there's an idea of AI making predictions, and what does it mean for an AI to be producing its response. And so I talk about how the AI makes its predictions in a way that doesn't go into all of the technicalities of stats and priors and predictions with some previous, what's the term for it, Rex? I know it's the probability given something else, the conditional maybe.
Bayesian prior.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stats that comes in the background for AI that I think is actually possible to circumvent, because what people want is not to know the math behind AI, they want to understand AI. And there's a lot of ways you can understand AI without the math.
Now, I was asking you this before we started this. Blow my mind. Just send us down a spiraling hole of technological information that is just going to be like, wait, what? That's really what it is?
Yeah, so maybe I can start. Actually, I think that if I tried to explain AI, you might say that's what it is, but actually that's so much simpler than I thought it was. If you've ever in math class had the task where you have some data points, you have to fit a line to the data. So linear regression, like maybe it's children's height compared to their age, and you have some data points, and then you're like, okay, what line fits it the best? That process of taking data and fitting a line to the data is actually pretty much all that AI is. It's basically you take some data points, and then you have some function, and you fit the function to the data. So maybe you look at the children's height compared to their age, and you're like, okay, they grow this number of inches per year on average, so that's the line that best fits the data. So what happens with AI is you basically take that model of, okay, give me some data, and then I'll fit a function to that data, and then you just scale it up to a really unreasonable number of dimensions. So with the children's age and height example, it's just one output, the height, and then one input, the age. But you could make that slightly more complicated. You could take in age and then maybe some information about maybe like how early or late they were born or something like that, because maybe your height is influenced, or maybe part of the world that you're in. Like I think that height is probably influenced somehow. There's different height characteristics in different parts of the world, or maybe just some other feature that impacts age. So then now you have two factors, and now you're trying to fit a line. But now it's not a line in 2 dimensions, now it's a line in 3 dimensions, because there's 2 variables, one output, so now there's there's one more dimension. And then maybe you decide, here's 5 other factors I think are important. And then you just do the same thing. You take some data, you figure out what line fits it best, and then that allows you to make even better predictions. And with AI, what happens is they basically scale that up into actually billions of dimensions. Like GPT, it's actually kind of funny. The code behind it and the math behind it is not that complicated. And the part of the big reason why GPT is so much smarter is just because they said, okay, we're just going to throw a lot more money, a lot more data in computation and see what kind of model we get out. It's kind of funny, with the AI Conundrum, I presented that in high school. In my presentation, I basically said, AI, I think, is not going to take off. And that's because if you want an AI that's going to work well, you need to spend like tens of millions of dollars training an AI, and you need it to read like a significant part of all that humans have written. And then a few years later, like someone did spend tens of millions of dollars, OpenAI spent tens of millions of dollars training, and the AI actually has read, I think I did the computation, I don't know if I remember the numbers exactly right, but if you were reading at a very like fast-paced book 24 hours a day, it would take a human something like 50,000 years to read as much as ChatGPT's read. Like the amount of data it's ingested is absolutely insane, and the amount of computational power they've spent on it is also insane. I mean, I think I don't know if Rex remembers some of this, but we tried to compute how much energy was used in the process or how much emissions. Do you remember any of what we got from that?
Well, it was equivalent to like millions of cars in emissions in terms of the CO2 footprint just from the computation to get ChatGPT to work. So it's a massive amount. One of the other stats I think that you calculated was, and since we were talking about Escher, if you take just a small print, the number of pixels or images, if you were to convert it to that, the way that AI sees that is it's converting it to, you remember this one better, to the RGB and the number of dimensions. But as Caleb gets to the end of the math, it's more atoms than there are in the known universe just for the AI to interpret one single small picture, an image. And that's a kind of mind-blowing numbers to take us through.
Yeah, that's, Rex is talking more about gradient descent, which maybe I could get into later. Yes.
I type in a prompt into ChatGPT and say, generate me a picture of a kitty cat with human teeth. Mm-hmm. How much of a carbon footprint does it cost to generate that image?
Well, it had to have done all of the work even just to get to the starting line. So incrementally, there's not a whole lot of extra, but just to have gotten there, it took, what Caleb was saying, tens of millions of dollars and just massive amounts. So just massive amount of compute to get to the starting line. But what was interesting is when you just talked about draw me a kitty cat with what kind of
human teeth.
Human teeth. That is the same as what Caleb was just describing with that XY fitting pattern. It's just like in the earlier example, he said age by height, and now you're talking about taking different words of what does the image of a kitty cat look like, and what does human teeth look like, and it's just the combining of those two together again. But it's in multidimensional space, so you can combine just about anything together. And I think that's what's kind of exciting about the possibility, but also makes it really, really hard to control it. Do you want to talk about like some of the personas and factors that come out of it?
Well, on that turn of controlling it, so I was having a conversation with my cousin, who's a big tech guy, and as well as the artist over there, Donato. You see that piece right there with the robot? What would you say to the artist who painted that with the inspiration that AI is here and is going to destroy our world, yet save us?
That is a conundrum, man.
Yeah. I'd like the idea of it'll destroy our world and save us, probably both at the same time. Just a few days ago, I was reading Isaac Asimov's short story. I forget what the name of it is, but it's I don't know if you've read this one before, the one with the giant machine and they go through the different phases of, have you read that one?
That's not Foundation, is it?
It's a short story, and I know it ends.
You're telling me the whole thing. I've read a lot of Asimov.
Maybe I'll spoil the ending if you haven't read it. But
Spoiler alert.
yeah, I guess it's the one that ends with the computer saying, "Let there be light."
You just spoiled it.
Yeah. Maybe it's not worth reading now. But
I wouldn't be
Surprised if I accidentally rewrote that myself.
I think most people don't know that one's from Isaac Asimov, but it is one of his most famous short stories, so it's a little bit funny.
Yeah, what I'll do here later is I'll just get on ChatGPT and I'll just put that description.
Yeah.
I'll transcribe this conversation. I'll put your description in there, and then it'll tell me what the book is. I'm sure you've given me enough of a description. Actually, I could probably just put in ending Isaac Asimov novel, Let There Be Light, and it'll tell me exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'll give me a nice
I'll do that while you're telling the story.
Yeah. But the piece of that story that I thought was interesting is like it sort of went from the start of time, or I guess building this computer that's sort of answering the last question, and it's something about can we ever reverse entropy or something? But the AI ends up becoming this kind of like monolithic thing that continues growing forever and ever until it's, I guess, restarted the whole universe. It becomes, I guess, sort of God saying, "Let there be light," because sort of all of humanity's gone away and sort of just the computer's grown over time. I think there's some possibility that that's what's going to happen, is that we have an AI that saves us but also destroys our world. I could very easily imagine that the framework that ends up working to create something that becomes really intelligent is something that wants to continue growing forever. I mean, this is kind of tangential, but early on, one thing I was interested in is what is a learning paradigm that scales infinitely? Like, what's something you can give to the AI and cause it to keep learning forever? And one of those things that I thought was important was curiosity, search for things that are novel. And there was some sort of paper I was reading that was early attempts at creating curiosity in AI. And there's lots of funny stories with it. It could learn to play all of these games that other AIs couldn't because it was curious and it found novelty to be interesting, and that allowed it to do a much better job looking for longer term gains, because the problem is if you have a regular AI that's trying to maximize its score in a video game, it might stop exploring after a certain point because it's like everything I'm doing is not increasing my score. But curiosity is good for longer term because you want to keep trying to find something that's hard to predict, and that sort of naturally causes you to expand your horizons. But it ended up getting stuck when they asked it to solve a maze. They put a TV screen in that just played random images forever, and then the AI just stared at the screen forever because this is novel information. It's an infinite stream of novel information, so it ended up getting stuck there.
Just like many Americans with reality TV, maybe?
Yeah.
It's basically a Drosty effect.
The which one?
Drosty
The
effect?
Drosty effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, the circle, kind of the endless loop.
Yeah, I guess Drosy effect in the sense of the endless loop, yeah, it does kind of get stuck.
Closed loop.
It gets stuck in that forever. But I do think that there's it's sort of inherent that if you create a bunch of AIs, the one that will be sort of take over and be the
Dominant.
most, what?
Dominant.
Yeah, the dominant one will end up being the one that continues trying to grow and wants to subsume the other one. So I think AI might end up with something like that, because the framework that will cause an AI to really grow ahead of the other ones will be one that scales with learning forever. And hopefully that comes combined with a desire to help humans along the way. But I do think any way you create it, as soon as you create something that scales forever and wants to continue learning, I think it will kind of destroy our world or start consuming more of it. I wish you'd read the...
That's the last question.
the Isaac Asimov one, because...
Oh, it's called The Last
Last
Question.
question, yeah.
Oh, okay.
See, I told you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judge.
Wait, which chat? Which app do you
I
use?
use the ChatGPT app,
Okay.
which is nice. You can actually do it with just a voice and say,
The Android or Apple?
this is the Apple one. So this
Okay.
is kind of have you played with this one yet?
I haven't.
This is fun because if you hit like it has a voice. So tell me briefly about Asimov's Last Question in 1 or 2 sentences.
The last question by Isaac Asimov revolves around the recurring question posed to a supercomputer on how to reverse the inevitable heat death of the universe. Over eons, as technology and consciousness evolve, the question persists until the very end, when a profound answer is finally given.
Okay, that makes sense.
What is
Yeah.
That's
That's actually what I really like
voice
to use.
enabled ChatGPT.
How did you get that?
AI
You can
for,
download it
because
as
I don't like
on
fiction.
iPhone.
Yeah.
You want me to
Fiction I feel is
download
almost a
for you?
waste.
Yeah, I'm not a techie.
Really?
Yeah,
This one's nice 'cause you
I've
can
read a
just
lot
talk
of it growing up.
Yeah.
When I was 27, I was working as a bench jeweler, and I listened to 100 sci-fi novels, 100 greatest sci-fi novels on audiobook.
That's a lot of sci-fi novels.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I listened to so many sci-fi novels that I started just unintentionally writing sci-fi.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I have all these just
What's great about this one?
these premises for sci-fi novels that I've
You
just
can just talk to it.
never done.
And you know,
Any ones that you still like or?
Well, I've still got a few in my head that they stick around every time it just kind of pops up.
Yeah.
Like I've got one about a time traveling teacher
So I just wanted to
that
ask him about Escher.
jumps
He
through
didn't know.
time
Oh,
and he picks up orphan children, teaches them to be time travelers,
Reverse.
and then lets them go.
Yeah.
And then he has one Anakin Skywalker essential who goes off and goes the dark side. And then he has to send his students
woman's
out
voice or male's voice?
to go take him out.
Yeah. That sounds like some fun opportunity for some time loops.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a joke video a few days ago that was like someone looking at a sheet of paper like they'd never seen it before. It was like year 3 of clone creation project, like try and create a clone that doesn't remember anything for the last 3 years. Then it like zooms out from him. So he's like, he's obviously the clone. He's looking at it. He's like, wow, I've never seen this before. I thought it was funny kind of recursion on that one.
Right.
So if you feel
Does the name Cole Franklin mean anything to you?
I don't think so. Tell me more about
Chief technologist at Apple Computer.
Oh,
Yeah, this is his art here.
oh, that's exciting.
He does psychedelic art, and we have his prototype for a new piece of technology that he has developed.
Yeah.
It uses quantum dots on a piece of glass, and he projects images onto this for lossless images. So you can watch videos on a projected screen in broad daylight.
Wow.
And we're actually going to be featuring that here.
Okay, so now how do I
Hopefully
find
in
this?
April.
Where is
We're
this
gonna
on my
set that
phone
up.
now?
Let's see.
I expect that you would probably want to come check that out.
Yeah, that's cool to see. It is always really cool to see the like very cutting edge, especially of the like physical technology that gets created. I was super interested to see, I forget exactly what material it was, but it's the kind of, or I guess on the one side of it is like the opposite version of like the very Vanta Black kind of thing, where like they construct the material so much to where like almost no light goes away. And seeing something like that is just stunning, because like you never see anything that like captures almost 100% of light. It's like staring into the void or something like that. And then there's kind of an opposite side of that that's really interesting, of like you can like make the lights go down to almost nothing, and it will reflect almost 100% of light, to where like actually if you record it on a camera, it ends up looking wrong, because like it's giving light, like so much light back, that the camera ends up like rendering it sort of incorrectly on the phone. And it's really interesting, like
Because there's no light coming back to the camera at all.
I think the Vanta Black one is like captures all of them, and then there's an opposite one that's like reflects almost like more light. Like it can be super dark in the room and the thing will still be like kind of glowing just from like kind of it. I think what it does is it like it's like angled so that all the light comes back at like towards the. I don't know how the technology works, honestly. I just know that it looks very interesting to look at like the materials that are crafted almost like at an atomic level to do something interesting with light, and like those have always captured my imagination for some reason, just to like see something that's like seems so impossible to exist, and like is like only exists because people have gone to the atomic level and made these objects with very weird properties. That's just so interesting to me.
gaseous species
Oh, hey Rob.
and allow them to what?
Can you tell us about his new piece that he's just acquired?
It's,
Shifting gears, yes.
it's for him.
It is. We're going to keep it at our house until he graduates because I don't
Pick
think
it
it's
up.
good in a dorm room. But it's such a reminder of the book itself and the cover of the book.
Oh, it's so perfect. We got to get it in the darn book.
Yeah.
So it's derived from Escher's large colored woodcut. But when I get home tonight, he's Mr. Teckle.
Here, focus. Tell him.
You'll send me his.
Yes. We'll
Okay.
connect
Yeah.
that, yeah.
But here, focus. Tell him about this piece as well as the sculpture. Where did they come from? Give us the provenance.
Oh my God. This is really surreal.
Well, really, the real surreal part about this is you guys are you're publishing your first book, and you just so happen to walk in.
That's the whole
to
point.
an Escher show, and you have
It's cosmic.
a Penrose triangle
Right.
on the cover of your book.
And I just showed you the letters between myself
Yes,
and
you and the Penrose. Yes,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
The Penrose letters, yeah, which is great. And the interesting thing is it's like the one thing that AI for sure can't do right now. It can't actually read optical illusions.
You're right. That's right.
That's what separates us as humans from
Okay.
the AI. Just for now.
Do you remember the TV series The Prisoner?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It was based on the Cold War.
Yeah.
Patrick
Yeah, yeah,
McGowan.
yeah.
They kidnapped him, took him to an island, and gave him a number. He was number 6.
Yes. Okay. It's been a long time, so remind me.
And the village was run by a computer. And,
Yeah.
and the question was, they asked the computer the one word the computer couldn't answer.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Oh, and it caused the computer to explode, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were
That's right.
escaped. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of back to your point about the last question, because in Asimov's book, doesn't it go through where, as he asks the question?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the punch on the book's a little bit different on that one, but I do think the idea of like what will be the why for the AI is interesting because like as humans, we kind of discover that ourselves, but the AI is a little bit weird because we program in its DNA. Like as of right now, the AIs, I mean, we don't really think have consciousness. Like I mean, no one has a good enough idea of consciousness to determine when something's conscious or not. But we definitely tell it the why. I mean, you tell an AI this is your goal in life, and like it takes like that's the role it takes on. So it will be interesting to think of like AI in the future that's sort of bound by the code it's written to, but also like what is that like? It's very weird notion of free will as well. Like the AI can only follow the code it's written. Can it still be free to do things? Because it very much feels like the AI is kind of free to do things if you ask it questions and like you give it options. It seems to pick one, and oftentimes seems to pick one like based on something that seems like its own will.
I think we're coming into a place right now where we have this anxiety around what AI will be, how long do we have, what will happen to us. It's interesting because we haven't yet had the technical breakthrough to where that's really to where we have AGI yet, but we're probably what do you think, one major leap in technology, maybe two, maybe three?
I feel like I have a different opinion on AGI than you, but
What's your opinion?
like, are you thinking? I think it largely depends on what you define as AGI, but I do think that like there's a lot of people who believe that AI will just exponentially grow. Like I saw someone mentioning the idea of a singularity. Like we're getting to the point where things will just change in a way that's like almost impossible for us to understand, and it will just come so far beyond us. But
And if
You don't see it that way. You think it's going to plateau, though.
yeah,
you ask AI, where does space end? Where's the edge? Where's the end point? And what lies beyond that end point?
Yeah, and that's a hard question for AI currently to answer
Currently
right
to
now
answer.
because
Correct.
it's just taking our data and our information and feeding it. But there were some new discoveries made by an AI. We talked about the book about
yeah.
So,
But
but that to me that becomes where you jump to AGI when it can when it can actually analyze, research, project, and come up with
But
an
the
answer.
ultimate question that is yet to have an answer is, are there other life forms? Based on math.
Yeah, that's right. It would be interesting to see how AI would work through that mathematical.
Okay.
Was it for Fermenti's decomposition? Or what was
I
that?
think it was Fermi's paradox.
Fermi's paradox, right. Because for that to occur, you would need to conquer speed of light.
Well, you mean for us to meet other species?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
Right.
I guess the difference between
Because
the distance and
the
us other
distances are
beings.
so great,
Yeah.
you need energy, and then you get into relativity.
Yeah. I do think that if we were to get to that point, we probably aren't biological.
You're not,
life forms,
you're
we're
not
part of the life form.
biologically
So-
based.
Yeah, no, we're some type of microchip.
Cyber.
Yeah, exactly. I think that that's probably the only. That seems like that's a feasible way if you think about multiple, potential of life of where it might evolve.
Which
to.
is possible.
Yeah, it's possible. I agree, it's possible.
Right.
Yeah, I think
Because
it's,
nothing's impossible.
exactly. Well, and given how big the universe is, it's almost probable.
Correct.
Yeah, but I do
But,
think.
do you remember the original Outer Limits?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do you remember the one called the Sixth Finger?
Remind.
That was a machine that would go forward in time,
Okay.
and so I think it was Robert Culp from Mission Impossible, the original. They put him in the machine, and the numbers start going forward, and he comes out, and he's being threatened, and he wants to destroy the whole town, and then he goes back in, and the numbers continue forward, and he metamorphoses into having so much power, he doesn't want to destroy. He's beyond all that at that point.
Huh.
Because life forms, when you reach a certain point, there's no need for conflict.
Yeah, well, that's a wonderful
Because
theory.
conflict is tribal.
But did you see the Twilight Zone one, the reboot of it, which was a small talent for war? Do you remember that one?
No, but
So- That's the counter
yeah,
argument to it.
but Twilight Zone is cream of wheat.
Fair enough.
Come on.
But it's more that there was a counter argument
Yeah,
to what
but-
happens when you evolve, and this advanced society comes back, and they said you Earthlings, you have a small talent for war. You have 90 days to fix this.
Yeah.
Or we're going to destroy you.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden they began to have lots of peace talks and really intense peace talks and try to figure it all out. And then they come back and they finally had a treaty where there's no more war on Earth. And they said, no, we said you have a small talent for war. We are a warrior people, and you guys have failed to prove yourself. So they were destroyed. So it's sort of like, what does the ultimate advance look like? Is it a peaceful environment, or is it one that really just continues to have domination?
See, all of that's in Babylon 5.
Okay, well, good. I gotta watch it. Maybe
He
you'll-
pushes Babylon 5 to me all the time.
Yeah, and anybody that knows will tell you.
I like sci-fi. So I mean, I've enjoyed like Fireflies and some of the other ones.
that's
that
all
kind of
criminal.
Serenity. And yeah, exactly.
That's
So now
all
I'm thinking
criminal
something
compared to
strong.
Babylon 5.
Have you read just Diaspora?
You know, Cream of
So
Wheat
that's,
is.
I'm just going to start reading some hard science fiction. That's the other one. Okay. Well, at any rate, AI stuff. Thank you for interviewing and having some conversation about this.
Thanks,
This is
Rick.
great. It's, I'm looking forward to.
Nice talking.
I mean, I'll have some questions about like. I know you need to write stuff up, and you need credit card and all that
You
other
get
stuff.
all